Michael, and I decided with all of this extra time on my hands that I might read some stories, because I love to read stories out loud. I love to tell stories. I'm a teacher and I teach theater. I'm also an actor, and so I like to perform. And I thought it would be a really good time to read you guys some stories to help you pass the time a little bit. And so I've decided that I'm going to start with one of my very, very favorite authors, Dr. Seuss. You probably heard of Dr. Seuss and probably had some of his books read to you, but he's my favorite of children's book authors. And I'm going to start with my very favorite Dr. Seuss book, which is The Lorax. I don't know if you've read this book before, but it's pretty good, and I really like it. So I'm going to read you the story of The Lorax. I wonder what that is peeking through those shutters on that window. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. The street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. And what was the Lorax? And why was it there? And why was he lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives here. Ask him. He knows. Look at that. You can see where the Lorax once was. And somewhere in here is somebody called the Onceler. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of miff-muffered moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters. And sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. And look, there he is, lurking in his lurkin. You can see him there, way at the top. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Look, there's the bucket. And you can see this little boy, he's tossing in his money and a nail. I wonder why he wants that nail. I don't know. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snuv, his secret strange hole in his grovulous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. And he's pulling up the pail. And look, you can see him putting the money, hiding it in his grovulous glove. Down slups the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. You can see the foam that's been lowered down. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the Swami swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. There's the barbaloots over there. And the humming fish humming in the pond. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. Look, there he is, discovering the trees and unloading everything from his cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. There's the tree that's been chopped down, and he's knitted this thing he calls a thneed. I don't know what that is. It looks kind of weird. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd just chopped. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy. and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Gazump. There he comes out of the trunk. What do you suppose that is? Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? There's the Lorax, pointing at that weird thneed. Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, or pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who will buy that fool thneed. I don't know, there's the thneed. Do you think, would you buy something like that? I don't know if I would. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute, a chap came along and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. And there's the Onceler counting his money. And the Lorax looked very puzzled. And here he is with his Thneed, taking it away. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. There he is, calling the whole family. The Lorax doesn't look very happy about it. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting Thneeds just as busy as bees to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. There they are, all in the factory, knitting away and chopping the trees down there and carting them off. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making Thneeds 4 times fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. There it is, that axe hacker whacking down all those trees. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping just as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruits to go around. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. Look at those barbaloots. Look how hungry they look. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried. And he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies in tummies, you know. Look at all the barbaloots going. Look, they even have to carry this one because he's so weak from lack of food. I meant no harm. I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger. So bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my roads. I biggered my wagons. I biggered the loads of the Thneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I kept right on biggering, selling more Thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Look at the factory. They're working hard and selling all those Thneeds. But already you can see it doesn't look as pretty as it used to before. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He snargled. He sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cruffulous croak. Whistler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swanny swans. Why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. Look at all the smog in the air and the poor swami swans. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. There go all the swanny swans. What's more, snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity glup. Also sloppity slop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. Gluppity glup. Sloppity slop. Doesn't look very nice, does it? You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. Look at the water, how ugly it's gotten, and the poor fish can't even breathe anymore. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering. Turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. There he is yelling at the Lorax. And then, at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall. The very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, every one, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars, and they drove away under smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad backwards glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the words of the Lorax seem perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is gonna get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the Onceler, and he lets something fall. It's the last truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water. Feed it fresh air. Grow a forest. Protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back.